I just got back from New York City a few days ago and I'm still excited about the whole thing because first time to the Big Apple, first time attending an Apple Keynote live, and first time live sketching something like this. I mean, I'm an iPad artist and an urban sketcher. I've been using iPads for the last 5 years exclusively to make art on location. So to be invited to attend an Apple Keynote where they are launching the latest iPad Pro, sometimes words are not enough to describe it. So rather than just sit here and talk about it a whole lot, I thought, let me show you.
How those lay out, and both the 11-inch and the 12.9-inch are the same. It would always be used for, the power.
Did you enjoy watching that? It was so cool for me. And if you're wondering, I was doing all the Keynote live sketching on my 2017 iPad Pro using the app Procreate, which I highly recommend. Now let's get to the techie bits. The 2018 iPad Pro comes in two screen sizes, the 11-inch and the 12.9-inch. My personal favorite, the 12.9-inch Pro, is now lighter and 1 inch shorter than the 2017 version. With the addition of the all-new 8-core 812X Bionic chip and its 12 billion transistors, this means much more power and a smaller, lighter package. In fact, the new 12.9-inch iPad Pro Surface is the same size as a sheet of letter paper at 8.5 by 11 inches, and at just 5.9 millimeters thick, the new Pros are thinner too. There are now 4 storage options to choose from: 64, 256, 512 gigabytes, and Apple has added a 1 terabyte version, which has been just confirmed to have 6 gigabytes of RAM. The rest have 4. Other changes: the new iPad Pros have Face ID integrated into those tiny, wonderfully symmetrical bezels, and they work in any orientation. Something some will groan at and others might cheer about is the replacement of Lightning connectors with USB-C connectors. Now they look a lot alike, but they're not. And how will this change affect you? Well, I just realized all my accessories and peripherals won't work anymore. USB-C allows much faster data transfer and power delivery. For example, you can now connect your 2018 iPad Pro to your iPhone using a USB-C to Lightning cable and charge your iPhone with your iPad Pro. A solution to all those recently wallflower gadgets, however, may be one of the new USB-C hubs that some companies have just announced. Hyper was the first to announce a dedicated USB-C hub for iPad Pros shipping next month, which could possibly allow all our older gear to work with the new iPad Pros. I'm sure the possibilities of USB-C and what you can connect to your new iPad Pro is going to be really interesting to watch. Oh, and the headphone jack is gone. Doesn't really bother me. I love my AirPods. They work with my iPhone. They switch seamlessly to any of my iPad Pros. Also particularly significant is the new Apple Pencil and how it has been redesigned. It now pairs, docks, and wirelessly charges on the top of your iPad Pro, sticks to it with magnets, really pretty strong magnets, and it's also shorter and lighter. It's got a matte surface, not gloss like before, which I really appreciate, and it has one flat edge, which also allows you to set it down on any surface and not have it roll off. My favorite size iPad Pro has always been the 12.9-inch version. In fact, in one of my old blog posts, I affectionately referred to the 12.9-inch iPad Pro as Jumbo because it's just easier to say than the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. 12.9-inch iPad Pro Jumbo. Jumbo is easier, but I'm trying to phase out of it because someone read my post and went to the Apple store and said, "Oh, I'd like to buy the Jumbo, please." So, 12.9-inch iPad Pro it is. Now, why do I like the 12.9-inch iPad Pro? Because when you're drawing, sketching, or painting, well, personally, I like to have a larger surface to work on. I started out drawing and sketching and really getting into digital artwork with the iPad Air, and I loved it. 9.7-inch iPad Air, but I couldn't wait for a larger screen size to come out. So when the 12.9-inch iPad Pro was first launched, I was over the moon. I never thought of getting the 10.5-inch, and I have no regrets, because it's awesome to be able to work with a larger surface, to be able to see everything clearly and to have more space, more room, more screen real estate. And the other thing is when I'm not sketching or drawing or painting, I'm doing other kinds of work. There's correspondence, stuff to write, stuff to plan and all that. And I use the split screen and slide over function a lot in order to multitask. So it's really nice to split your screen in two and to be able to see both sides and read both sides clearly without having to zoom in and out. So that, to me, is an excellent reason to go with a 12.9-inch. And for those of you who are thinking that, well, I'm looking at an iPad Pro, but this is too big for me. Well, think about your sketchbooks if you're a creative person. What size sketchbooks do you carry around with you? If you happen to be the type who carries an A4 or a letter size book or one of those medium sketchbooks that are about that size, it's about the same size as a 12.9-inch iPad Pro. And the iPad Pro's got all the tools that you need in it. Of course, with the Apple Pencil, which I always say is like the magic wand, better than a Harry Potter kind of magic wand, because it is everything you could possibly need. Provided you use the right app, that is, and again, I highly recommend Procreate. I've had the new 12.9-inch iPad Pro for about 2 weeks now, and I've been using it for everything from planning this video, writing the accompanying blog posts, sketching, of course, and painting, as well as editing this video. I've shot everything that you see on the iPhone X, airdropped it to the iPad Pro, and edited in LumaFusion. Now, let's get to my initial impressions. I love the fact that I have the same large screen, bright and beautiful, but in a powerful, smaller, lighter package. It's also a smaller footprint. I happen to be using the Smart Keyboard Folio, and I love that too. It's much more sturdy, and the smaller footprint just makes it easier to work anywhere. For urban sketchers like me, the improvements on size and weight are significant because I'm sitting on street corners and sidewalks, on park benches, or on one of the little portable stools that I have to carry with me when I head out. But sometimes for events, for instance, if I'm commissioned to draw something live, I might have to stand for hours and draw, and anything that reduces the amount of stuff I have to carry and its weight makes a huge difference. I like to think of myself as an iPad athlete, perhaps. I may not look like a typical athlete, but if you think about extreme athletes and they have to do something for hours and hours and hours, and they have to shave as much mass and weight off as possible in the kind of gear that they use, well, that is what I do. And so the savings in weight and size just means that I can go for a lot longer and not get as tired as quickly. Every ounce matters. Now, I've also found Face ID to be really fast and sensitive on the iPad Pro. In fact, it unlocks really quickly and it feels smoother. It's more sensitive, so it unlocks even when the iPad is at a more extreme angle. Not completely flat on the surface of a table, but even at that kind of angle, it unlocks. It's more sensitive than the iPhone, and I've tried portrait, landscape, no problems at all. In New York, I also hit on something which made me really appreciate Face ID versus Touch ID. New York was a lot colder than Hong Kong is now, and one of the times that we went out sketching with Urban Sketches New York, I had to wear gloves because it was so cold. And I use touchscreen gloves both in the height of summer as well as when it's cold in the winter. In the summer, I use bamboo touchscreen gloves, and I use them because when it's so hot, sometimes my hand sweats. And when I put my palm on the screen, it just gets unpleasant. So the bamboo glove absorbs perspiration, and in winter when it's cold, touchscreen gloves just feel, more cozy. So now, hot or cold, the gloves do not have to come off in order for my iPad to unlock, and that is a small but very, very helpful little thing. My 2017 iPad Pro had great battery life for general tasks like correspondence and research and just planning stuff and word processing kind of things. The only time the battery would drain fairly quickly was when I was urban sketching outdoors, because under full sun you need to have the brightness up almost max. So under those circumstances, I would get maybe 4 or 5 hours if I was lucky. I haven't been able to test that yet with the 2018 iPad Pro, but I will. I really love how light the Apple Pencil is. That was my first impression when I picked it up in the experience hall that they prepared for us after the keynote. How light, how it feels like wood. The matte finish, it feels like wood. And I love the fact that you can double tap to switch tools. Now you can do that in the settings app on your iPad, so it's a universal setting, and I'm sure that developers will also build in different things that you can do as they rework, look at the API, figure out what else can be done. I've set it to switch between brush and eraser, and I find that so handy and very cool. I didn't even realize how often I switch between these tools until I started double tapping all the time. Something else as we talk about Apple Pencils, if you bought the first generation Apple Pencil, you would have also realized that it came with a spare tip. The new Apple Pencil does not. The good news is, if you still have spare tips for your first generation Apple Pencil, they'll work with the new Apple Pencil as well. And if you're going to do any outdoor sketching like I am, I highly recommend that you get spare tips. I carry at least 2 with me wherever I go, because I've had situations before where I accidentally dropped my Apple Pencil onto a concrete sidewalk, tipped down, flattened it, and I'm so glad that I had spare tips. First time I didn't. Subsequently, I always carried at least 2 because there was one day when I spoiled 2 tips. So, just something to think about. As you can see, I'm also using the Smart Keyboard Folio, and I really do like it. I like that wraparound protection for the iPad Pro now. It sticks on really nicely. Decent protection. Connecting the iPad to the Smart Keyboard Folio is idiot-proof. Smart connector is here, smart connector is there, tons of magnets in the back. Put it down, alignment is perfect. It is flawless every time, and there are 2 indentations here which allow you to park the iPad Pro in 2 positions, depending on which works for you. What I really like is how everything is much sturdier. The keyboard folio, the Smart Keyboard Folio now looks more professional. I'm perfectly happy with typing on this. I was fine with the first generation one, and what I like about this is how it feels really much more solid. I mean, if you look at the base, it's got hardly any flex in it, just a little bit, but it feels really sturdy and solid. How has it been working, sketching and painting with my new iPad Pro? After the giddy high of unboxing all my new gear, which, let's be honest, was like a cross between my birthday and Christmas, I couldn't resist. I couldn't wait to get started. So the first morning after I got my iPad Pro, I opened the curtains, and there was the stunning view of the New York skyline. And over in the distance, small but still there, were the Empire State Building and the Chrysler Building. And in that early morning light, it was just beautiful. Right after that, I had my first authentic experience with that other New York icon, the Cronut. I didn't queue, the bakery was just around the corner, my wife got us coffee, and I thought, okay, yeah, let's give it a go. Interesting, but a little too sweet for me, but I'm glad I tried. My first urban sketch in public was actually after we got back from New York. And my wife and I had a craving for good dim sum, because you can never get enough of good dim sum. If you look at the sketch, you can see that I actually just drew one of each item, one of each dish, because we were so hungry, we ate the other bits. And in the process of painting this, I realized that the Smart Keyboard Folio's stability and sturdiness on all kinds of surfaces also means it can act like an easel when placed on a tabletop, and the smaller footprint also means that it's easier to work on a plane, especially in coach, or on just smaller work surfaces or in tight corners somewhere. So who really benefits from all this speed and power in the new 2018 iPad Pros? Procreative users who do seriously processor-intensive tasks like 4K video editing, or music production, or animation, or image manipulation, photographers, artists, illustrators, designers, architects, interior designers, any of you who need to sketch or draw or paint on a regular basis, this is also something that's going to be really handy for you. I'm probably not going to see all the speedy improvements on a day-to-day basis as an urban sketcher, but who knows? The guys who make Procreate, hello Savage Interactive, may decide to put in the functionality of creating even larger canvases with more layer support. So we'll see in the near future. Something that will excite many people is that Adobe will bring full Photoshop to the iPad Pro in 2019, and Autodesk has also announced that AutoCAD will be coming to the iPad Pro. What I'm super excited about is the AR potential. During the keynote, they showed a video of an app made by Adobe, which is not released yet. I think that's coming out next year. Now, the potential as an artist like myself to take 2D work, layer it, and create something that people can explore and interact with an iOS device. Oh, the potential of that! I can't wait to see what happens. I can't wait to get my hands on an app like that. I can see how all the power under the hood of a device like this will be harnessed in the near future. Very exciting. So now we come to that question that I've been receiving ever since I announced that I was at the Apple Keynote in New York. Which model should I buy? That comes down to 4 criteria, in my opinion. Your budget, what your needs are, what you intend to do with your iPad Pro, which also determines your storage needs, and the other little thing to think about is what daily bag you use. How do you intend to carry? What's your habit? Do you use a little bag? Do you use a backpack? Do you use a briefcase? Because that will also determine which model, which screen size you're going to get. 11-inch, 12.9 inch. Needs vary, and generally I say get the best you can afford. Get more storage than you think you need. The minimum storage size I recommend is the 256GB version because that offers a nice balance between price and a decent amount of storage. If you're a creative professional, I highly recommend that you look into the 512GB version or even the 1TB version, as it comes with 6GB of RAM, not 4 like all the others. And whatever you do not buy the 64GB version iPad Pro, whatever size. Yes, it is the cheapest tier, but if you use your iPad a lot, and you should if you're going to get an iPad Pro, then you will fill it with media and apps and stuff very, very quickly, and it is such a pain to have to constantly clear out. You're going to have to be really, really good at curating your content if you get the 65GB version. And also, I mean, in terms of dollar to gigabyte costs ratio, it just doesn't work out. So 256 bare minimum. Before you make any purchasing decisions, I highly recommend also that you walk into an Apple store or an Apple reseller, pick up the 11-inch iPad Pro and the 12.9-inch version, have a look, check the weight, look at the size, and just see which works for you. You have to remember, the total cost includes not just the iPad Pro, but the Apple Pencil, a case of some kind. Maybe you want to get the Smart Keyboard Folio as well. All those things add up, affects your budget, things to think about. If you have an old iPad that does not work with an Apple Pencil and you're considering an upgrade and you have the budget to do so, then yes, I highly recommend also looking at one of the iPad Pro models. Because working with and without Apple Pencil, I mean, this makes all the difference to the experience, especially if you're interested in creating artwork of any kind. Here's an example of why I feel more space is better. I'm an artist and an urban sketcher, and I work with Procreate on a daily basis. My standard canvas is 8,000 by 4,000 pixels. Now, if I'm working on something complex, that means more layers, the brush strokes themselves are more complex, more data, which means that an average original Procreate file could easily be in the hundreds of megabytes. After that, I will export a JPEG. Full quality JPEG. If I'm going to print it, I would export to TIFF or maybe PNG. Sometimes clients want a layered Photoshop file, which Procreate can also do. And then there's the 4K time-lapse video that Procreate can output. So one piece of artwork can actually generate close to 1 gigabyte of data. I could easily draw 20 pieces on a 1-week trip. And when I'm working on a commission, it's very, very similar. So 1 week, 20 gigabytes. Over the summer, for instance, I was away for like 6-7 weeks. And I did maybe 80 pieces or something like that. So again, rule of thumb, get more space than you think you need. The other thing that's really, really handy about having plenty of storage on your iPad Pro is when you get that dreaded your iPhone storage is full, you can just airdrop photos and videos to your iPad Pro and clear space on your iPhone and you're good to go again. Right, I think we're almost there. In the following weeks, I will be testing the 2018 iPad Pro further. I will be doing a lot of outdoor sketching, and I will be reviewing what it's like in that experience under full sun, under various weather conditions, comparing this with the 2017 iPad Pro. I'll also be talking about accompanying gear and peripherals, cases and stands. The other thing that I've found is a lot of people say that iPad Pros can't replace their laptops, and whenever we get into depth in that topic of conversation, I find that they don't really know how to fully utilize their iPad Pros. So what I was thinking about if you guys are interested, is to make a series of little videos to show you how you can use your iPad Pro to do more. If you're going to invest in an iPad Pro, then you should really know how to make full use of it. And let me know if you enjoyed that little video that we saw in the beginning of this video. If you're interested in hearing more about my urban sketching adventures when I travel or as I explore cities, I would be very happy to make some which will explain why I choose a particular vantage point, why I choose to draw something, how I tackle it. It's urban sketching adventures. If these topics and subjects sound like something you'd be interested in, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate a like. If you got any questions or something that you'd like me to make a video of, please say something in the comments below. And if you subscribe, do tap that little bell so that you know as soon as my latest video is out. Thank you again so much for watching. I really appreciate that. I'm really new at this, so take it easy on me. And I'll see you next time.